Hi, this is Rebecca from Etsy. You will know me as Jewelry Rebecca Weber. On Facebook, you can message me. My Facebook name is Morpho Rebecca. And you can also find me on Instagram. The name is Might Be Here. And you might also know me from some of my Facebook groups. Silicone Geode Druzy Molds for Resin. And you can also email me at siliconedruzzymolds@aol.com. Now we're going to do an experiment where we're going to try to make black opal and white opal. And I have everything set up. I'm using a 2-part epoxy pro marine. I've already mixed it up. I've got my cups all separated. And as always, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to take some clear epoxy resin and we are going to press it into the druzy portion of these molds. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're going to try to press the resin into all these beautiful little crevices, and that's going to make our crystals. And by pressing it in, that will release any air that is inside those pockets, and that will make it so you don't have any air bubbles or irregularities when you pull it out of your mold. So let's go ahead and get that started. I'm just going to pour a little bit in each of my molds here, just in the druzy area. That's all we need it in. And I wanted to do this one because it's just a little different. So we're just going to go ahead and use the back of our spatula and just sort of push it in those little crevices. Don't forget around the edges, the corners, you do have crevices there too. Just push it down in there, and as you push it in, it will release air pockets, which will create some bubbles on the surface, which we will take care of that here in just a minute with our heat gun. I'm going on to the next one here. Getting that all down in there so that we have a nice, beautiful, sparkly druzy. Now these two would be for pop sockets, or you can make them into a pendant if you like. Usually these here are for pendants. I have had a couple people use some of these as earrings. Personally, for me, that's a little large. But, you know, to each his own. And, you know, most importantly, we're worried about this druzy part. Getting it in there. Anything extra on the side, I don't even care. I'm just leaving it there. I'm not worried about it. Now, this one is going to have an open center, and the druzy is upright. So we're going to press that into it, forcing it inside, going upright. Make sure you get all of it. All right, now we're going to use our heat gun to get rid of those bubbles. If you notice, I never use a torch, and I never leave the heat gun on there for too very long. Okay, now we're going to start with the white. I have a liquid white pigment here. We are going to use the minimal amount. So I have a little bit of pre-mixed clear epoxy resin, and I am going to just use just like the tip. I'm just going to tiniest little bitty bit in there. We're going to give that a mix. But I don't think we're going to mix it completely. We are going to let it look almost kind of stringy in there. I don't know if you can see that very well. And then we're going to work on the black. And again, we just want a little bit. If we want it a little darker, we can add a little more. So right now, I'm just going to add some of this black in here. That's how much black I have in there, if you can tell. Gonna mix that. And this one I'm gonna mix a little bit more so I can see how black it is. I want kind of a smoky black so it's still somewhat transparent, but not so opaque that you can't see through it, because we are going to put some mica shreds in there to give us that opal look. This is what it looks like. Now, it's still not dark enough for me. I am going to add a little bit more black to it. About the same as I did the first time. Maybe a little less. Mix that up a little bit more. Now what I've chosen for the white opal is 2 different sizes of opal mica. One is larger, one is smaller. Let's see, I think that's still a little bit not as dark as I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm so picky. And I reuse my toothpicks, so I always clean them off. And I'm going to go ahead, add a little bit in there. So I'm just going to pour this in there. I don't want it, sometimes when it's too transparent, it almost looks kind of brown. We'll see what happens here, or if I've screwed it up. It also depends on your brand. I'm using a liquid from Resin Obsession. I really like their products. Now, let's see. It looks almost too black looking at it from the top, but I don't know if you could see it pouring off. It's still a little bit transparent there, and that's what I want. It's like a dark smoky color. So, for the black, I have my own mix that I make of mica, and we are going to use that in there. We're just going to dump that on in there. And we're going to give that a mix. It's going to get kind of thick on us. Put that to the side. And for our white, we have the 2 different sizes. This is like almost a fine, but not ultra fine mica opal. And this one is a more chunky. I'm going to put those together. And we're going to put them in with our white. This is going to be really hard to mix because that is, I put like a whole spoon of the chunky and a whole spoon of the fine in here because I really want that opal look to show through, because I don't want the white to overpower it. All right, let's see how this is looking. Pretty cool. All right, now I'm just going to add some more clear to it. I know that will light me up a little bit with the black and with the white, but that's okay. I just want to make sure I have enough for my molds here. I am not worried about that color. Lightening up sometimes is better than dark. If I need to add more, I'll add more, but I'll know once I get it mixing. So this is what this looks like here. Might be pretty cool. And then here I'm going to add some more clear epoxy to my white opal. It should still be pretty white, but it should be very transparent as well. You almost got to work kind of fast once you start getting this going. Don't want it hardening up on you before it gets in the mold. Usually I don't try to do 2 different things at once. So that's what that is going to look like. So before I pour them in there, I'm going to zap it a little bit with the heat gun just to give it a little bit of an easy flow. I do use my heat gun a lot, but I don't use it for long periods of time in one area, because you don't want to burn it or destroy your mold. I'm going to go ahead and pour this one in here. And just since this one is almost all druzy on the surface when it's finished, I wanted some contrast. So I am going to do one that has some smooth on the surface and druzy for a comparison. And then the same thing with the black. This one also is mostly druzy surface, so we're going to see what that looks like on there. And then again, this one has a lot of smooth surface area with some druzy in it for comparison. Now I have a little bit of extra, and I knew I kind of wanted to play with this other one, so I'm just going for fun here. Going to add a little bit more clear around there. Sometimes when you add a little bit more clear around your druzy area, you can get a little bit more of a druzy effect. And I'm going to just push that up in there a little bit again. The clear is what gives you your crystals. Even if you use a transparent color, it doesn't really matter. That's what lets the light through and gets you a reflection. Adding any kind of glitter or anything does not really do that for you. Now I have a little bit of the black left. Just want to see what happens here. I'm going to put some around the edges. Just for fun. And I hate to waste any kind of resin, ever. No wasting. Always use plastic. Never use wood. For mixing, for anything. For scraping. This is a leftover white opal, by the way. Wood, if you mix it with wood, or if you scoop it with wood, wood is going to create bubbles. It is extremely porous. So wood and epoxy are not always good. Now, if you're going to make a project that has wood in it, you're going to have to pre-treat that wood in order to prevent the issue of those bubbles. You're going to have to seal it, or you're going to be sorry. I got a little bit clear left. I'm so excited. I have enough for all of this. All right, now throw that down there. I have no idea what this is going to look like. We're going to find out together. All right, now with this last one here, with the center, you have this piece here in the middle. I like to just sort of scrape over that. So later on, after it's cured, that's going to be a lot less trimming out the center portion for me. Just scraping it across the top there, pulling that out. Always clean off your spatulas. I'm just using a paper towel, but if it gets super, super gooey, I do always have some alcohol wipes nearby that I can use to get that extra off. It will preserve those spatulas for a very long time. Alcohol wipes. These were fine. I'm just doing this to show you. Alcohol will clean it really well. You never want to use alcohol on your silicone molds though, because it does break down the mold faster. I only use soap and water to clean my molds. That seems to be the best way for me. And I tell you, I have molds that I have used over and over and over for probably a couple years now and haven't had to replace them. And that's just from taking good care of them. There we go. Good and clean. Clean this one too. Clean my toothpick. All right, one more blast with the heat gun. That should do it. All right, I'll see you back here in maybe about 12, 16 hours. I'll check it. When it's looking good, we'll pop these suckers out and see what we have. See you later.